This is a Minecraft chunk, a 16 by 16 area that divides the world, and while these invisible chunks wouldn't normally affect gameplay, I decided to use them to make a great challenge to restrict the space you have to build with. So in this video, I attempt to build an entire castle in just one chunk. The chunk I chose is a simple forest biome, and I started off by clearing out all of the trees and terraforming the ground a little. I wanted to try a popular building technique where you lay out the base shapes of the build with colored wool, and since I had a lot of vertical space to work with in the chunk, I went for 3 tall towers at varying heights, and some buildings and a bridge to add some more interesting shapes. The center back tower is the largest in width, length, and the height. I used purple wool to show the different roof shapes I would use on the towers and the lower buildings. And to fill in the empty areas, I put a windmill on one of the towers, a pond, and a waterfall under the bridge, placed 2 small trees, put the pathway in, and added a little wheat field to give this castle a food source. The color palette of this build turned out to be one of my favorite palettes of all time, with the new deep slate bricks for the towers, calcite on some buildings, and using spruce for the wooden parts. I wanted the roofs to be a teal, so I put some temporary stripped warped wood for now. I do accent the building with some dark oak by using mass amounts of trapdoors. I decorate the bridge and the window frames with these. To add some vegetation to the build, I place azalea leaves all around the towers and onto the custom trees. Here you can see I tried several color variations on the roof, but I ended up going for warped planks with dark prismarine towards the bottom to make it seem like a shadow. Using slabs and stairs, I detail the towers to be more pointy and more to the shape I had imagined when starting this castle. At the very top, I decided, you know what, we have all this vertical space to work with, so let me add a flag real fast. I used the basic teal and white to go with the rest of the build, and since I had never made a flag in Minecraft before, it was really fun getting the right triangle shape. And while this may look like a complete castle, surprise surprise, I intend to use the whole chunk. So heading underground, I clear out all but the back 2 walls of the chunk and temporarily light up the area. I started by laying out the base shapes of the underground city I would be building. I messed with the heights and the shapes of the buildings before trying to decide on a color palette for some stalactites I would be hanging from the roof. While I could use the dripstone block, I decided to use a stone and tuff palette to match the color scheme of my build better. Once again, I mark out the base shapes with wool before adding in the color and detailing the stalactites. I then hung soul lanterns with chains from the points and built a larger soul lantern in the middle, which hangs into the city. I filled the walls of the city, added some bridges with the wool, and down at the bottom of the chunk, I built some huge purple crystals out of wool that we'll get back to later. I needed to see how much space to save for this area before continuing the city. I used the same color palette as the castle above and built the roofs a little bit less pointy as I had less vertical space to work with underground. I attached the towers to the wall with some diagonal supports and began to detail all of the window frames and bridges. I used that dark oak from up above and the diorite for some contrast with the white. The windows were pretty long and I had some difficulty detailing, especially in this back corner tower where I had to make a tall diagonal window. I hung some more lanterns from the bottoms of the towers and changed up the color palette of the large custom lantern a bit before deciding the underground city was complete. I absolutely love how the stalactites hang down into the city and how the white bridges connect to all of the different towers. Moving on to those large crystals near bedrock, I changed the wool into a purple and magenta and later some white stained glass and lit up their bases with some sea lanterns. The magical lake in the middle has lapis lazuli at the bottom to make it seem deeper than it is, and I specifically placed this chunk over a coral reef to get the pretty teal watercolor. I built some platforms jutting out of the walls with some tough blocks and some coarse dirt spilling over the edges because I wanted to build some custom mushrooms, because I believe that large mushrooms are super magical and would help to tie the underground portion of the chunk together. First, I built the largest one of my favorite red mushrooms before making some flatter brown mushrooms down below. For my third mushroom type, I make these pointy teal ones. One of them is a double split mushroom and it was super fun to get the diagonal and the points in the right shape. Lastly, I put some small mushrooms coming out of the city walls to tie everything together before adding this small red mushroom coming out of one of the roofs. And I think it turned out super adorable. I did lower the larger red mushroom a bit just to even the color scheme out. Moving on to the magical pond again, I surround it with some mossy cobblestone to act as rocks and decorated it with azaleas, moss, flowers, little mushrooms, some twisted vines, and these cute flowering lily pads using trapdoors with a coral on top. I also wanted an enchanting setup down here, so you can see me messing around with some different floating bookshelf designs before copy and pasting it over to the crystals. I originally wanted it to be hanging from these floating sea lanterns, but it was so chaotic, so I just made the crystals a bit taller and hung the enchanting setup from the crystals themselves. Back to the surface castle, I made some final adjustments by fixing the windows in the bridge to better match the ones underground. And up in the central tower, I made this really cute magical floating light, which filled up the space really nicely since I already had an enchanting table and didn't want to place a second one up in the main tower. I add some flowers that match the color scheme and some soft ferns to the little space I had left on the ground, and I made sure to add lots of deep slate cracked bricks to detail the walls and make the castle look a little bit more run down. And with that, the one chunk Castle City was complete, and you can see everything really coming together as I zoom out, and I'm super proud with how this came out. This building challenge was insanely fun, but also insanely hard. I decorated all of the interior and wanted to give you guys a little tour of the place. You can see the pond I have here, and some tropical fish actually kept spawning in here during the video. There's one. Look how cute he is. And he disappeared down the waterfall again. Okay. So, in the first little house here, we have the kitchen. We have a lot of storage, some sea pickles, some mushrooms, and overall just a lot of decorations. I do have some furnaces in the floor. This is completely functional. We can head on into the main building, into this little lobby area that I created. We once again have a lot more storage and just some cute decorations overall. The small tower over here just leads out to that little balcony you can see. On the other side of the lobby, we have the staircase. This is the first spiral staircase. That is the trapdoor that leads down to the underground city, but first we'll go upstairs. So I fully decorated absolutely every part of this. There's candles, plants, paintings. This leads to the top part of the connecting house, which is just a cute little storage room. Heading on up farther, we have the bridge, and I absolutely love how this bridge came out. It really just makes everything in this castle seem so much like more grand, I would say. I also kind of like the windmill. It was really fun doing one on a small scale like that. This tower currently goes up to some more storage in the top, but we didn't really have that much space as it was a one-block interior. And now we can head up to the top of the main tower, and you can just open those trapdoors, close them. And this is the magical light. I made this out of some sea lanterns and some end rods. Honestly, I really like how this matches with all the open windows, and I think it came out super well. Rare footage of the back of the build. It looks pretty funny. You can see the backs of the underground city. We got some bookshelves sticking out over there. It's pretty chaotic. I did put all of the towers in a block so I could have their roofs the correct shape, and that left this one block area for me to put all these different azalea bushes slowly creeping up the side of the building. And if anyone was wondering, absolutely everything is within the chunk. All of the roofs, all of the details, every overhang, even the flag. Back in the main tower, we can head down this secret trapdoor to an area between the above castle and the underground city. We can head down this ladder, and we are now inside one of the roofs of the back corner tower in the underground city. It's fully decorated, and we can just head down one more ladder, and now we are underground. So we can head across this little balcony and the first bridge into a cute little dining area. I did add a cute little hanging plant, and everything is completely lit. In the entire city, even if I put the other two walls in, no mobs can spawn here, so that is really cool. We can head down this trapdoor, and it's just a simple bedroom. Back across the bridge into the diagonal back corner tower, we can head down farther into a bit more of a storage room. And we can go by this waterfall. This actually goes all the way up to that lake and all the way, whoop! Hello, there's a little tropical fish. And it goes all the way down to the magical lake. And this is a really great angle of the mushroom coming out of the house and the soul lantern in the middle of the city. We cross this bridge, and this is the biggest house in the underground city. I like to call it the stair house, because instead of having a ladder to connect all the different floors, it's just stairs all the way down. We just head down this flight of stairs, head down this flight of stairs, cross this little balcony, painting, more stairs, bit more decorations. Here's the window you can look out. And guess what? More stairs. We have this cute little armory where you can put all your different tools and armor, and we can just head on out into the big diagonal bridge connecting to the lowest tower. The lowest tower I wanted to be a potion room, so you can see I used a loom to pretend to be an empty bookshelf. I have the potion stand, and in the bottom part of this tower, just some nether wart and some areas to store your ingredients and your completed potions. From here we can see the different custom mushrooms, and there is no good walk path down to the magical enchanting setup. You could use an elytra, or you could just jump in the waterfall. This was intentional because I just wanted it to be like more of like a sacred area that you couldn't just, have anyone walk down into. I did decorate the mushrooms with some smaller mushrooms on the platforms and some crystals lying around. So down here at the magical lake, you can see I added some axolotls after the time lapse, and I made sure to put plenty and plenty of cute little decorations right at the bedrock level. I did leave the original bedrock in as I thought it was really cute, but I did take some out right where the lake goes. Now the enchanting table setup can go to level 30. There are enough bookshelves here, and I just added some cute decorations overall. You can see it hanging from the massive crystals. And once again, everything in the underground section is within the chunk border. I did purposely build the chunk over a coral reef because I wanted the water to be this pretty teal color, and you can see I decorated the bottom with some sea pickles to light it up, and there's lapis lazuli down there to make it seem a bit deeper than it really is. I absolutely love how you just go from the magical crystals at the bottom to the city, which ties in with all the different mushrooms, to the stalactites hanging down and lighting up the city itself. And then when you get back up, the ground merges into an above castle, which, bit unsuspecting to have all this amazing magical stuff underneath, is still a good castle in and of itself. It's fully functional. For the custom trees, they were originally going to be a bit bigger, but they did block the side of the castle, so that is why they're both pretty small. This one actually is so small that I used fences in the middle instead of a full block. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys like this challenge, bop that like button and make sure to subscribe to see future content. If you want to see me do this again but with a slightly different theme, comment down below some ideas. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!